He said he wasn't human. Then he ate a man's face. I mean, right off the bat, that quote just stops you cold, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's raw horror, the kind you almost can't comprehend.
And the person at the center of it all? Austin Harrouff. Well, to most people who knew him growing up, he was just the happy boy.
That contrast is, I think, what makes this whole thing so incredibly disturbing. This bright, promising young life
Yeah.
ending in this act of just almost unbelievable violence. It really forces you to think about what can be hidden, you know?
Definitely. So let's paint the picture. Palm Beach County, Florida. It's 1996. Think like sun, nice houses, perfect lawns.
The epitome of comfortable suburbia.
Exactly. Austin grew up right there. Nice home, dad's a dentist, mom's a pharmacist. He was smart, athletic, good-looking. The whole package, really.
The kind of kid everyone assumes is going straight to the top. Medical school was the plan.
Right, and he seemed to want it, too. For a long time, it looked like he was right on track.
Which just goes to show how much we rely on those outward signs, the surface stuff. We often miss what's bubbling underneath.
The first, maybe, hint of a crack was when he was 13. His parents got divorced.
Which is huge for any kid. A massive upheaval.
For sure. And outwardly, Austin seemed okay. Kept up his grades, sports. But you got to wonder what that does internally, right? When your whole family structure just shifts like that.
Oh, absolutely. Adolescence is tough enough without that kind of stress. Even if he looked calm, that composure, well, it could have been just a coping mechanism.
Then high school rolls around. More success, honor roll, tough classes, football, wrestling. People liked him, said he was nice.
It's almost strange, isn't it? His coaches actually wanted him to be angrier on the field.
Yeah, and he talked about wanting to help people. It seemed genuine. That's where the nickname came from, the happy boy. His dad called him that.
That desire to help, that perceived kindness, it makes what happened later just so hard to square. It points to this massive disconnect.
It really does. So 2015, he gets into Florida State University, pre-med program. Everything seems golden.
The plan is working.
Totally. And that summer before college, sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Beach, family dinners, happy photos. Just this ideal image.
The classic golden summer before launching into the future.
His parents drive him up to Tallahassee, help him move in. There's this real feeling of hope, you know, like here he goes off to the bright future everyone expected. They thought he was ready.
And that's the gut punch, isn't it? That optimism right on the edge of this absolute nightmare that nobody saw coming.
Because he wasn't ready.
Not even.
Not even close.
I mean, he first got to FSU. Things looked okay on the surface again. Good grades. He had a girlfriend. Got really into bodybuilding.
Yeah, he had a social media thing going, right? Fitness videos.
Exactly. All things you'd normally see as positive adjustment signs. Thriving, you might think.
But behind the scenes, completely different story. His journals from that time, they're full of self-doubt, feeling like he wasn't good enough.
A desperate need to be more outgoing, to get attention. The pressure he was putting on himself seems immense.
Yeah, those journals are. They're a really stark look inside his head. That feeling of inadequacy, wanting validation, it's a dangerous mix, especially with college stress.
And social media probably amplifying it all. That gap between the public image and private reality just kept widening.
And that's when the drugs started. First, you know, typical college stuff, weed and alcohol.
But it didn't stay typical for long.
No, it escalated. Prescription stimulants, Vyvanse, probably started for studying.
Likely. Then it moved to psychedelics, acid, mushrooms, MDMA.
It turned into this cycle, right? Intense highs, then crushing lows, anxiety, depression, paranoia creeping in.
And critically, he hid it really well. His family, his friends, they didn't seem to know the extent of it.
This escalation, using harder stuff, it often points to trying to self-medicate something deeper, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Trying to escape feelings or issues, but the drugs just make the underlying problems worse in the end.
By the end of that first year, his search history tells a terrifying story. Things like, am I going crazy?
Do I need to sleep? How to know if you're insane?
He knew. He felt his own mind coming apart.
Those searches are like flares being sent up, a sign he recognized something was terribly wrong. It's just tragic he didn't get help or that nobody saw it clearly enough.
So he comes home for the summer. And the change is just drastic. The happy boy is gone.
Replaced by someone quiet, distant.
He moves his bed into the garage. Says the house has demons. He starts patrolling the house at night, whispering.
Checking on his family while they sleep, saying, I'm guarding you.
Yeah. It got so bad they started locking their bedroom doors. They were scared of him.
That move to the garage, that's a serious break. The nightly patrols, the guarding talk. Those are huge red flags. The family locking their doors just shows how real the fear was.
At first they thought, okay, it's drugs. He admitted using stuff, so they focused on getting him clean.
Which is understandable.
But here's the really disturbing part. The weird behavior, the paranoia, the insomnia, the mood swings, the nonsensical talk. It kept going even after he said he'd stopped using.
And that's critical. If the severe symptoms persist without drugs, it strongly suggests something else is going on. A primary psychotic issue. Focusing only on the drugs might have delayed getting the right kind of help.
They actually talked about the Baker Act,
Yeah.
the Florida law for involuntary psychiatric evaluation if someone's a danger.
The fact they even considered it shows how desperate things were getting.
But they didn't do it. For whatever reason, they held back. And then the breaking point came.
It's such a difficult position for families. Fear, hope, stigma. It can lead to hesitation, sometimes with absolutely tragic results.
August 15th, 2016. The morning starts strangely. Austin just shows up at a childhood friend's house, barefoot.
And asks that incredibly bizarre question.
What year was I born? Just completely disoriented, a sign of how lost he was in his own mind.
It really speaks to a fundamental breakdown of his connection to basic reality. Chilling.
Later that day, at the beach, it gets even weirder. It's Florida hot, right? August.
Sweltering.
He's wearing a thick football jersey, baggy sweatpants, sunglasses, and 2 watches. Just bizarre.
Totally inappropriate for the weather.
And when his friends kind of question him, he snaps, threatens them. If you tell me I'm crazy, I'll kill you.
Wow, that's a massive escalation. The bizarre clothing, the paranoia, the direct threat. Clear signs of a very disturbed and dangerous state.
Then he tells his sister even stranger things. I'm half horse, and I'm immortal.
Classic psychotic delusions, believing he's part animal, immortal. The lines of reality are just gone for him at this point.
She actually gets through to him for a second, though. He agrees to get help. A tiny moment of hope.
But it was fleeting. The psychosis was too strong.
That night, at dinner with his family, it just spirals. He tells his sister he needs to test my immortality.
And walked into traffic.
Walks right into traffic. She pulls him back. Then there are these moments where he seems almost normal. Then he vanishes, comes back, goes to his mom's house, drinks vegetable oil straight from the bottle, eats Parmesan cheese off the counter.
Just completely irrational, disconnected acts. Testing immortality like that is incredibly dangerous, shows zero regard for his own life. These flashes of normalcy make it even harder for loved ones to grasp how severe it is.
The final blow-up happens back at the restaurant. His dad, just pushed to the limit, frustrated, scared, asks him, "What is wrong with you?"
Well, understandable question in that situation.
Austin's reaction is instant violence. Grabs his dad's face, shoves it against the wall, then he just turns and leaves. Walks out into the night.
Attacking his father like that. It's another terrifying escalation, a complete loss of control.
His girlfriend calls 911 right after. She's frantic, says he's missing, he's not well. He could be a danger to himself or others.
A tragically accurate prediction. That call is just heartbreaking. The fear, the helplessness, knowing what was about to happen.
Just a few miles away from that restaurant, Michelle Mishcon and John Stevens are relaxing. Retired couple, enjoying the evening in their garage, kind of their favorite spot.
Just a normal, peaceful night. Their neighbor, Jeff Fisher, is nearby too.
Setting the scene of this quiet, everyday happiness makes the violence feel even more jarring, more intrusive.
Exactly. That open mirage, a symbol of safety, community, about to be violated in the worst way possible.
Then it happens. A scream. Michelle's scream. Jeff Fisher hears it, runs outside.
Sees Austin, shirtless, sweating, slamming Michelle's car door violently. Michelle is just frozen in terror.
And then Austin attacks her.
Jeff's immediate reaction, running to help. It's instinct. But the scene he describes is just pure terror. Austin's frenzy, Michelle's fear.
Jeff tries to intervene, runs at them. But Austin turns on him, says something chilling. You don't want a part of this.
Like he's completely detached, thinks he's involved in something beyond human understanding.
Then Austin pulls a knife, slashes Jeff multiple times. Just bleeding badly, has to retreat, calls 911.
While hearing the attack continue.
Yeah. And the sounds change. He hears grunting, animal sounds.
Oh, God. That just emphasizes the descent, doesn't it? Into something completely non-human, psychotic.
The first officers arrive, Kristen and Dan. They see this river of blood pouring down the driveway.
Just an immediate sign of the horrific scale of what happened.
They follow to the garage. John Stevens is on his back, still alive. Austin Harrouff is on top of him.
what they saw next, I mean, it's almost beyond words.
Austin has one arm around John's neck, the other hand is pulling at his cheek. Then right in front of them, he bites into John's face, rips off a piece, chews it, swallows it.
That act, it's the absolute core of the horror. Cannibalism happening right there. It shows the complete break from any recognizable human behavior.
They tase him. Nothing. He doesn't even react, just keeps attacking John's face.
Officer Kristen can't shoot John's right underneath him. Officer Dan starts kicking Austin in the head. Hard. Still no effect. No pain registration, it seems.
The taser failing, the kicks doing nothing. It highlights the sheer power of this psychotic state. He's oblivious to everything but his target.
Backup arrives, a canine unit. The dog bites his arm, tears muscle.
He screams, rips his arm away, and goes right back to attacking John. Unbelievable.
It took Officer Dan timing a kick perfectly, knocking Austin off John, landing on his chest, and slamming his head on the concrete to finally stun him. The level of force needed was just extraordinary. It speaks volumes about the state he was in.
Even then, getting him cuffed, he fought with his insane strength, shouting things like, "Kill me, I'm eating humans, just kill me."
Just nonsensical, terrifying rambling.
It took several officers to finally restrain him. The end result, Michelle was already dead. Blunt force trauma. John died minutes later. Bites, stab wounds, crushed bones.
Just utter devastation. Their poor dog survived somehow. And Jeff Fisher, the neighbor, lived, but with terrible injuries and trauma.
And Austin. He ends up in a coma. Turns out he swallowed some kind of corrosive chemical in the garage.
Yeah.
Maybe insecticide, bleach, something.
Nearly dies himself, but he eventually recovers.
And when he wakes up, claims he remembers nothing, absolutely nothing about that night.
Complete amnesia, which naturally people were skeptical about at first.
Right, until the toxicology report came back. And this was the real shocker.
No flocka, no bath salts.
Nothing like that. Just trace amounts of THC, probably from previous use, and sedatives given after his arrest. He was sober during the attack.
That changes everything. It completely rules out the drug-fueled frenzy explanation and points to something much scarier. A sober, psychotic break.
They're bringing a top forensic psychiatrist, Dr. Philip Resnick.
A big name in the field.
His diagnosis was incredibly rare, almost unheard of. Clinical lycanthropy.
The delusion of believing you are an animal or transforming into one?
Exactly. It sounds like something out of fiction, but it's a recognized, though very rare, psychiatric delusion.
But it could potentially explain so much. The animal sounds, the biting, the apparent lack of pain or fear.
Right. The evidence Dr. Resnick pointed to was Austin's earlier comments, half horse, part dog, his belief in being immortal, the animalistic grunts during the attack.
And crucially, the fact that he completely ignored his own survival instinct and seemed unaware of the police trying to stop him. Dr. Resnick argued no sane person, even on drugs, would act like that.
It's a compelling argument for a profound break from reality, where his whole sense of self was just gone, replaced by this animalistic delusion.
There was that Dr. Phil interview later too, right? Where Austin cried and apologized.
Yeah, just said he didn't understand what happened. But the victims' families, understandably, their reaction was pain, anger. They wanted him fully aware, fully accountable at sentencing.
Completely understandable. Their loss is immeasurable. The desire for him to comprehend the gravity, it's deeply human.
The legal side got incredibly complicated. Is it insanity? Is it evil? Where's the line? The trial was delayed for years. Public opinion was all over the place.
Some saw a monster, possession even. Others saw a tragic mental collapse.
These cases pushed the legal system to its limits, forcing it to grapple with intent, awareness, and the nature of severe mental illness. Lycanthropy just adds another layer of extreme complexity.
Ultimately, the expert consensus landed on that sudden, sober, acute psychotic break. The delusion that he wasn't human, that he had this primal need to feed.
He's currently in a secure psychiatric facility, still awaiting the final legal judgment.
Whatever that judgment is, the psychological impact here is just immense. It's a terrifying look at how fragile the mind can be and the awful consequences when things go so terribly wrong.
And for the families of Michelle Mishkan and John Stevens, their lives were just destroyed in an instant by that violence. For them, Austin Harrouff will never, ever be the happy boy again.
Never, just the embodiment of the horror that took their loved ones.
Okay, let's try to break this down a bit. The truly chilling thing here is how normal everything seemed for so long.
Right. The mental health issues creeping up, hidden first by just looking like teen angst, then masked by drug use. The warning signs were there, but missed or maybe misinterpreted.
And the family situation. You feel their fear, their confusion, Thinking about the Baker Act but not going through with it shows how hard these situations are. What do you do?
It's agonizing. And then the break itself, sudden, sober, leading to this unthinkable act of violence and cannibalism. It's a terrifying example of what can happen when the mind completely loses its grip on reality.
It really hammers home the need for better understanding, better ways to intervene in mental health crises, even when things look okay on the surface. The cost of missing it can be catastrophic.
So thinking back, maybe the first question is, what were those earliest signs, those red flags in Austin's behavior?
Yeah, looking back now, maybe the quietness after the divorce, the intense pressure he put on himself, the journaling.
And why weren't they addressed more effectively? Was it stigma, lack of resources, the difficulty of seeing past the good kid image?
Good questions. And then there's the diagnosis itself, clinical lycanthropy. How does something that rare challenge how we think about crime, responsibility, and intent in the legal system?
It forces us to confront the edges of human experience and mental illness, doesn't it? Where does illness end and culpability begin when reality itself is so distorted?
Finally, given this whole tragic story, what are the big lessons here for us, for communities? How can we get better at seeing and responding when someone is in deep crisis, even if they're hiding it well or it's mixed up with other issues like drugs?
It's about awareness, reducing stigma, knowing where to turn, and maybe listening harder to those gut feelings when something seems profoundly wrong, even if you can't quite name it.
If this story haunted you, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and join us for another case you'll never forget.